so the new email just to send support questions to is pika@marmot.org, PIKA@marmot.org. So just an easy way to make sure that there's a couple more people looking at it and handling them. So, or by a couple, I mean just Pascal right now. So if we need to, we can add extra people too. So. Any questions about that before we get into more talk about the functionality that we've done this sprint?
Hey, Mark, it's Joe. I got in a little late. I'm sorry. So I just got the tail end of that conversation. So instead of opening tickets at marmot.org, we should send support to pika@marmot.org?
So, sorry. Feel free to continue to open tickets. I just want to, if people are sending me questions, so a lot of people will say, hey, Mark, can you change this configuration option? I've got a question about this format, that kind of thing. If you just send those to pika@marmot.org instead of just to me personally, that way Pascal can help out when I'm traveling and that kind of thing. So I've got a couple of trips coming up over the course of the next couple of months. So feel free to do support tickets and that kind of thing. Those still get handled by both of us. Just if you've got a question or a minor tweak or something that you want to do, just send it to both of us instead of me. So, and you can send it to both of us by doing pika@marmot.org.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yep. And the email address is in the chat right now, and I'll put it in the minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, supplement to, or it's another option for everything else. So it just gives us a way to make sure we handle everything timely, in a timely manner. Okay. Any other questions, or I'll dive straight into new functionality? All right.
I think we're good.
Cool. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about, one of the things we talked about doing last time was mobile enhancements, and we've made several of those. So right now, none of this functionality changes for tablet and desktop modes. It's just a change in the mobile interface. So really phones, whether it's horizontal, vertical, you'll start to see some new functionality. So if we can resize here. So we'll resize down to, this is my phone size. So I'm going to be a little bit longer of a phone size. So I'm just going to refresh here. So what you're going to start to see is this horizontal menu bar that we're calling it. And this is the email that I sent out last week, kind of talks about this. It also talks about having this menu bar vertically. If you're in tablet and desktop, we decided that functionality wasn't quite ready for prime time. So right now this functionality only exists on the phone. But we think that it's a really good upgrade for the phones and replaces a couple of things that were kind of weird. So, so right now that menu bar anchors itself to the top of the screen, so it's always easy to get to those common tools. Everything that we put off in that left sidebar is stuff that we thought was good things that people would want to see in multiple places, but in a phone it's too much to deal with. So we wanted to make that a little more compact. So you can click on the search, that brings up your search box, do our searches there. The menu brings up anything that was kind of below the search box. So the log into my account, the hours and locations, the home page button, and then all of those sidebar links that you put as well. So patrons can easily get to that by just toggling that on or off. Then there's the login button or account button. So if you click on that, that lets you log in if you're not logged in. So we'll just do that real fast. So now that we're logged in, we will see a logout button in addition to that. And if you click on that menu again, or that person again, you can also see what you have checked out in lists and tags. For administrators, you also see your configuration options there. I don't know how many people configure on the phone, but it's there in case you want it. But then you can jump to see how many titles you have checked out and what's on hold and that kind of thing. Yeah, so then you can get through all of these. Let's do a search real fast. So if we search for Oregon. So we can, oh, and I'm showing results in grid mode, which threw me for a loop there. So now, let's show these in list mode so that I can be used to it. Although grid mode is a great way to see them on the phone. So there they are in list mode. We haven't readjusted the display of this. That's something that we will likely do next sprint in terms of moving around some of the covers and that kind of thing so that it takes up a little less real estate in mobile. It's just something we didn't have time for this time. If you click on the search button now that you've done a search,
that's the horizontal menu button. I forgot.
Oh, sorry. This will change slightly before, so this will change a little bit before we deploy. We're planning to deploy Thursday night right now. So the one thing that I was looking for that's missing is under this, there's going to be a refined search, and I can show you that. Go to, let's do it here. So looking in Eagle, if I go down to mobile view, so I searched for toddlers there. Let me just refresh the page. So by default, we have our search. We've got the top facets that we think everybody wants to see most of the time. So I could quickly go down to books. If I want to do a more specific functional refine, I can click on refine search. That gives me my sorting options as well as more specific formats. So if I just want to see fiction about toddlers, I can do that. And then clicking that again, you get your refined search and you can see everything, or you can hide it. Does that make sense to everyone? So it will be the same thing dependent, no matter which search box you have.
Type and variety.
Um,
What's search strategy?
Is someone asking a question? No. Mark, there is one in chat.
okay. Yeah, so we are intending to, let's see. There were two questions. One was, how are we testing screen sizes? We're using a framework called Bootstrap, which does testing in the CSS, different CSS selectors. And Carrie, if you're interested in that more, let me know. And there's a couple of different ways we can get you. We can either give you some information, or if you want to come to one of the code clubs, we talk about Bootstrap periodically. So we can talk about that more in one of those. So, and then save filters, we, this has been missing in the horizontal search bar, and that will be back. So this is the traditional search block. So the plan is definitely to get that heap applied filters back into the horizontal search box. It's almost ready, but not quite. So let's see, then looking at specific records. So if I dive here into the Overdrive MP3 audiobook, we've done a little bit of reformatting for mobile view, just to reduce the amount of screen real estate. So this one, So we've just pushed the image over to the left with the ratings, and then we're showing the all of the additional details to the right. So the image isn't completely taking over the mobile view anymore. And if we look at other copies, so let's look at other editions of that. So if we look at the CD, it applies there as well. And the Overdrive one will be this type of style as well, where the label is right above the value. So hopefully that will make it a little easier for people to read and use on a mobile phone. Eventually, I think that we will see the search results have a similar type of format. The one thing that's a little tricky that we're still trying to figure out is when you're looking at an entire work. So let's go back to our search results. When you're looking at all of the format information, this is hard to condense into that little skinny area on the right. So before we do that, we may need to reformat this a little bit for phones to reduce the amount of information, or figure out a nice way for it to look with both the title, or with the image shown a little bit smaller and then title information to the right. And then either this format information will drop below, or we'll reformat a little bit. So we'll figure that part out.
Mark, on the links right above the graphic, those are just for the test one, the show solar timing and link.
Solar, yes, these two, all three of these are test only things. And in fact, I think they may only show up on my computer and Pascal's computer. I think we have those turned off for everybody else, just so that they're out of the way. And yeah, they're completely unobtrusive when you're looking at it in desktop, but in mobile they kind of dominate the view, but those won't be there for everybody else. Any questions about how this search bar functions, or the menu bar functions? Any comments, positive, negative?
Mark, is there any difference in, as far as logging into your account? I mean, is it treated differently if it's detected you're in mobile as far as remembering you or not, or does it basically just work off the same settings?
It works off the same settings. So for the most part, mobile people, it will allow you to remember. The only cases where every once in a while you can have it detect that you're inside a branch is if you're wireless. If you're configuring things by IP address and you've got a wireless network that you say is inside your branch, then when people come into the library and log into the wireless, it will not let them remember me. So that's the only thing to be aware of.
Okay.
But for the most part, remember me should be an option. So yeah, please take a look at this. We won't be deploying this until Thursday. So between now and Thursday afternoon, evening, if you find any problems, it should be enabled on everybody's test servers. If it's not, let us know and we can certainly do a quick deploy. But please take a look. If you see any problems, let us know. We've got a couple of days. There are no known bugs in that functionality that I am aware of. I guess the only thing was missing the refine button when you're configured for horizontal scroll bar. So in this case, let me go back and do another search. When I've got the horizontal scroll bar or horizontal search bar enabled, we don't see the refined search. This one, we don't see the refined search. So that's the only thing that should change. Otherwise, I think everything is working nicely. So, so if you see any bugs, they're probably something that we don't know about. So thanks to everybody in advance who is able to test that. So the next thing let's talk about is side loading. And I'm going to go to Nashville's test server. So we've got, and we haven't, so this is the vertical menu bar that we haven't disabled on Nashville's catalog. This is not something that's going to be deployed, but just so that you can see it, there was the search, the account functionality, and then the menu. So we're still kind of playing with how that works. Once we get to Digital Archive and the Explore More functionality that I was talking about last time, it's going to be more important to have this left sidebar or left menu bar, but we're still working out exactly what that's going to look like and how that should function in tablet view, because we do have a little bit more screen real estate. So for right now, I wanted to look at our indexing profiles and just show people how we would set up side loading. So right now, Nashville's got 2 collections configured, One Click Digital and Zinio. And these are both configured similarly. So let's look at One Click Digital. So basically, it's set up the same way we do ILS setups for most people. This is something that you don't do, and in fact, it's something that will help anybody who wants to do side loading to set up and configure the first time. So we're doing things like saying, hey, where on the server are we planning to see those MARC records? What encoding are they? This is the new part that we've got a couple of new back-end things that tell it how to do side-loaded e-content. This is the part of the URL that will show up. So we'll do a search here in a minute. Where we're getting the formats from, we can either do, either load formats from the MARC record directly. So it will do things like say, hey, if I'm reading the regular MARC record stuff and I see that this was encoded by the vendor as a book, then we're going to treat it as an ebook. If it's encoded as an audiobook, we're going to treat it as an e-audiobook, because it knows that everything in this collection should be e-content. And most of these don't have items and that kind of thing, so we can do all kinds of configuration. We can set up different translation maps, which are really just for changing how the formats are specified. So that just gives a little more local control over saying, well, if I've got a magazine, I want that treated as an e-journal, or specific quirks to the individual vendor records. So once we set this up, and again, that's something that we can help you set up. If we do a search here, and let's search for One Click Digital. So here's our One Click Digital books. So we get, this is an e-audio book, and we get our access online. If we click on that, this is where up in the record URL, we see that it's a One Click Digital title. In this case, we're getting this ID because we don't have an ID in the ILS. So instead of it being a B number or a numeric number, we're getting the ID out of the 001 field, which is configurable again in that indexing profile. And then the big thing is that we get this Access Online button. So when you click on Access Online, it takes us straight over to One Click Digital, where you can do your checkout or add to wish list. So, and then eventually, for some of these collections, we may do additional API work so that you can check out directly within Pika in addition to being able to link directly here. So in this coming month, we'll be working with people to get additional collections that we want sideloaded. One of the ones we want to get done in the very short term is Colorado State GovDocs. That's something that Marmot uses and loads regularly. It's also something that AspenCat is looking to load, and Logan, Beth, I don't know if either of you load them. Do either of you load GovDocs? If you do, we will have a easily configured way of doing it. What we're looking for right now is a source of all of them. Right now they just list new ones and changed ones, and ideally what we want, since we're just starting this process, is a list of all of the docs. So as soon as we get that, then we'll load these. Any questions on side loading?
So the big picture on side loading is that those MARC records for like the OneClick or the Colorado GovDocs are in a separate database.
Yeah, so they would just live as MARC records. So the way that they're normally delivered is here's a set of MARC records that's the complete collection. Every once in a while it's here's the complete collection plus here's updates. There's not really any value to having those in the ILS for most people because it's not tracking checkouts or clicks or anything. And it's just one more thing to maintain in the ILS. So what we can do is load them into Pika directly, keep them up to date there. Pika is good about handling adds and deletes and that kind of thing already. So we can just load them in there, and then people can discover them easily from within Pika without somebody having to load all of those records into the ILS.
And where do you put that in the configuration? Do you put that in record to display, but not in?
Yeah, so what'll happen, so getting them onto the server is a separate step. And that's something that either is going to happen by an FTP process or by a manual upload, depending on how the vendor allows access to them. So then in the indexing profiles, that's what this first path is. So this is saying whatever that process is, either an automatic FTP or a manual upload, we're going to put all of the MARC records in this Data Viewfinder Plus Zinio MARC folder, and then Pika just knows to read all of the MARC records in there.
So we wouldn't have to reconfigure each library to include the Colorado GovDocs.
Okay, sorry. So then there is one more step that I should talk about. In your library systems, you can then configure who uses this. So when we go in and look at the overall catalog, down here we've got the records to include. So down here we're saying include OneClick Digital, all locations, all of the e-content, include Hoopla, and include Zinio. So that way also, like if CCU is loading some eBrary records, not everybody has to have those records. So CCU can have their eBrary records. We'd load them into the Union catalog as well. But Fort Lewis and CMU and CMC and Adams wouldn't all be seeing all of CCU's eBrary records. So same thing with AspenCat. If an individual library is subscribing to content, they can see it, and you don't have to make it available to everybody else. Any other questions on that?
So the one-click digital is available now?
The one-click digital is available now for Nashville. So John, if you want to start sideloading those, I think, who else using one-click? It's you guys and Vail and Telluride. Is that still correct?
Not Vail anymore.
Not Vail anymore, so maybe just you and Telluride, John?
Someone just said Basalt.
Oh, and Basalt as well?
Yeah, and I don't
so-
know if Steamboat has it.
I don't think Steamboat subscribes, but I could be wrong. I know they're doing Hoopla, but I don't see anybody from Steamboat on.
Okay.
So I think it may just be the three of you. I know Steamboat does Hoopla. So if
Okay.
the three of you want to coordinate I don't know if your collections are consistent or not. If you don't all have the same collection, then we'll just set up 3 side-loaded processes for you, one for each of your collections.
Oh, okay.
But we can do that at any point. So just email pika@marmot.org and we'll work on getting that set up for you.
So can you do that?
Got it.
Mark, can you do that with any vendor like 3M?
Yeah.
So we could sideload 3M. Could we sideload the Unite for Literacy and the Gutenberg?
We should be able to. So yeah, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to. But I mean, there's always a potential that there's some changes needed, but this should be a good basic solution for everybody.
So, as far as the 3M stuff goes, though, you're kind of working towards something where it's integrated the way the Overdrive
Yeah.
is. I assume that's probably not happening for a while, but at that point, then we wouldn't even need to worry about side loads or any kind of load, right? On our end, anyway.
Yeah, well, it again depends on how those vendors provide things.
Sure.
So it may be something where we're still essentially sideloading and then we're just saying, hey, if this is a 3M collection, we have the APIs,
Oh, okay.
how to do more with it.
Okay.
Same thing with one-click digital. If it's a one-click digital collection, we can continue sideloading it, but we also would have APIs that would tell us how to do checkouts.
Cool. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah, so at this point, it's really do you want those records in the ILS or not? So if you've got collections that aren't in Koha already, that you do want discoverable in Pika, those would make a lot of sense to sideload. If you've got some that are already in Koha, then you'd want to decide because you wouldn't want it loaded twice probably. So we'd either want to set up a rule that says, hey, suppress this for these location codes, or just stop exporting them or remove them from Koha. Any other questions on that?
And you can sideload for at the location level also, correct, Mark?
Yeah, correct. So if you had, well, so potentially like
The schools, for
county
example.
schools. Yeah, so the schools have some things where you've got specific collections that are ordered by school. We can set up one or more loads for that, and then apply them to the individual location where they belong.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Right. Okay, let's move on to some of the library settings, and what I'm going to do, let's get out of mobile mode here. Oh, so the only thing that may or may not be considered a bug is when you switch from full record or from tablet to mobile, the sidebar doesn't always refresh. And I don't think that there's a lot of people that are dragging their browsers around, making them go from large desktop into small. Let's see if I can, I lost my resize. I don't think a lot of people are dragging them around, making them this big and then this big. So we're not too worried about it. To get it to refresh, just refresh the page. It's, I think, a minor possible irritant, but I don't think anybody's actually in practice going to hit it. So if you do see problems with it, let us know. But I don't think it's a big deal. Anyway, getting back to our configuration. So I am going to log into Fort Lewis with my username. I have set myself up now as we have 3 new roles: library manager, location manager, and circulation reports that have different levels of permission. So right now I am configured as a library manager, which means when I go into the Pika configuration, I see a very limited number of things. I still have library systems, I still have locations. We can block the patron account linking. We thought that was a good one to keep. We can look at list widgets and browse categories. So if we go into library systems, I only see my library. And if I click into that, there's a few changes here. So there's a few things that, like, the subdomain is not something that we even allow you to change as a library manager. We also don't let you change the display name. You can change a lot of the rest of the display issues, but you can't do things like configure what records are included. So this is a smaller subset of what's available. We want people to be able to do sidebar links, header links, change the order of facets, add new facets, set up the holidays, and enable some of the different display-related integrations. But we didn't want them to do anything that would affect indexing. We didn't want anything that would be a major functionality change, nothing that was like, hey, if I enable this, I could break the system. So this is good for any of those libraries that are a little bit more advanced, but not so advanced that you want to give them everything. So fairly complete, but not complete. The other thing we have added is additional help. So there's additional help here for kind of the general basics. So there's some help there. These are all Google Docs that Tammy wrote. And then for each of the individual sections, there's additional help as well. So yes, to set these up, you set them up the same way that you do regular administrators. So this is mostly for people in consortia. What you're going to do is you're going to go into the admin administrators. So under system administration, there's the administrators, and you'll assign that just by their barcode. So you enter their barcode and tell them what permissions you want to give them.
So this reduced permission is called what?
There's library manager and location manager. So library manager lets you do things like set the holidays, set browse categories for the entire library. If you've got location, if you've got like a branch manager that wants to do special stuff, or a school librarian that should be modifying browse categories and doing list widgets for their school, but not for the school district, there's also a location manager. So let me switch real fast to, I will make myself a location manager. And I'm just doing that on another screen so that we don't have to publish everybody's barcodes. So now I am a location manager. Let me just click home again so that we can refresh. So now here in Pika configuration, I just don't have the library systems anymore. I just have locations. I can still do the account linking updates, widgets, categories. And I only see, in this case, my library. So I just see the John F. Reed Library. I don't see the Southwest Center. And then again in here, I can't modify the display name. I can, showing what library it's associated with is there, just because it will only ever be one. So nobody can change it. And you can change, again, some of the basic display things, addresses, phone numbers, timeouts, links to home pages, some CSS, the catalog enrichment. I made a best assumption based off what I knew about how I thought people would use this in terms of if it's a display thing that's changing the way Pika looks, I thought it was okay for these roles. If it was something that was changing kind of the guts of how Pika functions, that was not something that was included. So for the people that are actually going to be using this, let me know if I set up the right set of restrictions, or if you want something else to disappear, or I don't think there's anything we'd want to add back, but if there's things that you want to disappear, we can do that. Or if there are things that we want added back, we can do that as well. So just kind of let me know as people start playing with it. Let's see, and then the third role is a circulation report, and this is just for people doing the offline circulation, which right now only Marmot people use. So it's an offline circulation that basically processes transactions while we're down. After we're back up, it uses Circa to add transactions back into Sierra. There are periodically errors that need to be dealt with manually. So things like something's checked out in between the time we process and the time that, or in between the time that it's down and that we process the transactions. So there's every once in a while things that need to get resolved. There is now a permission specific to this that is a circulation permission that really just gives you the permission to see these holds reports. So inventory and offline circulation are actually available all the time. You just don't see the menu item, but you can see the holds report and say, show me everything for the last 2 months, in which case we should see some, maybe 3 months. Yeah, so there's a couple. Oh, this is the test system. That's why there's not any. So here are some that Fort Lewis has done that failed processing because I entered random patron barcodes during a demo. So this is just for those people. If you've got people that you want enabled to just see that, so like a circulation manager, so maybe even one at each branch, just send us a list of barcodes and we can get those added in to the administration privileges. Any questions about any of those roles? All right. Let's see. Yeah, so just send barcodes to that pika@marmot.org and either Pascal or I will add those in for you. So And yeah, this release, we will plan on deploying it Thursday night, so it will be available in the libraries Friday morning.
We have to send the barcodes to you. We can't do that ourselves.
Oh,
as
you
an
can do that
admin.
yourself. Yeah, sorry. Marmot members who are where Pascal and I are the overall admins. If you've got ones you want to add, let us know. But yeah, Joe and Ashley, you guys can add those yourselves if you want. And Beth can add them and James can add them. So, let's see, a couple of other little fixes. So if we go to, I'm going to get out of that again. And so one of the things that hasn't been working for a while is the searching the online collection. So if I want to search the online collection for winter, we can do that. And that right now is just restricting to everything that is e-content. So, and we'll show ebooks and e-audiobooks and that kind of thing, anything that's online content. It will also show Zinio and One-Click Digital and all of those things that are side-loaded. So one new functionality there. The other thing that was fixed was searching, showing Wikipedia results, which hopefully this will pop up. Unless it's been disabled here. So Wikipedia results were not showing properly, but they should be now. There they are. So Eagle just has it disabled, but Mesa County's got it. So you get the little snippet of information. If there happens to be a picture, it shows there as well. So that had gone away. Wikipedia had changed some things on their site, so we have fixed that now so that we work with their latest version. Let's see, before I talk a little bit about the local content archive, just wanted to talk about Arlington. So Arlington is getting close to go live. They are currently planning to go live at the beginning of February, and I will be out in Arlington next week, Wednesday through Friday, working with their staff to make final changes. There's a few things that you'll see that will pop up that are sort of specific to Arlington. Nothing to demo today. A lot of what we've done this sprint that you haven't seen already is changes to how things are indexed, so how some of the formats are calculated, how some of the literary forms and audiences and that kind of thing are calculated. So that will all be done shortly, and we'll have okay, so we'll have some more things to demo for them next sprint related to Arlington specific. So some of the things that they've pointed out are things that we've kind of decided as a committee are good things to do, like some changes to how subjects are displayed and that kind of thing. So we will see more of that at the beginning of February. Let's see, the next thing I wanted to show was, and let me just see if anybody from Arlington is on. I don't see anybody from Arlington on right now, but next sprint, hopefully they'll be able to attend. So next wanted to go into some of the local history archive that we're doing. So this is the work that we're doing that Jordan's heading up in Islandora. We're starting to get some content integrated into Pika. This is something that there is a new configuration switch available in the library settings for, it's in a section called Local Content Archive, and it's search the local content archive or something creative like that. It is something that will be off now and probably for the next couple of months for everybody in production, but we'll start to turn it on in test. We just want to make sure that we have a good implementation before we start showing patrons, but we can start showing staff. So there's two ways to get to it. The first way is you can search the local history archive, just like we can search genealogy records. Or if we just do a search, so let's search for Camp Hale. And as we scroll down, we're starting to see that Explore More bar. This still has some additional formatting to do. We need to pull additional content types in. But we've loaded records from Eagle Valley's Past Perfect collection. And we have, how many do we have in there? Several hundred. And we will,
About 500.
yeah, about 500 in there so far. There's about 7,000 that we're kind of working through a few details on the import to make sure that we go through all 7,000 once instead of going through them multiple times. So we're looking at some of the linking and relationships before we load all of them. But if we click on that, we can see information about each of the images. So we're seeing there the title that was supplied by Lacey and Jackie and Eagle. So, so here's all the different stuff as well as their descriptions. When we click into those, we're getting information about the image, so we can see the large image. We're still working on some of the making it zoom up. We just need to, it does zoom, we just don't have very many that are the right screen resolution there, or the right image resolution. So we are starting to make progress on that. It's looking good. We will continue to work on this for the rest of the year, really. But we're expecting to have a lot of progress on it in the next couple of months and start to really see some relationships develop and integration throughout Pika. So that was the one way through the search results and the Explore More. The other way is we can just do a general search here of the local history archive. So if we want to search for, let's search for, I haven't searched for silt, so we'll see what I get here. Nope, no silt. There are gypsum though. So as we go into gypsum, there's hotels in gypsum. Or yeah, if we did Eagle or any of those, or Avon, or we would get results. So and there's some basic fasting that we've got. We've got fasting by subjects and formats. We can see what are the large images and basic images in the collection. If we go into the collection, we can apply a little thumbnail to it. Oh, that's a different collection. So, no, okay. Don't go too far down the path, or this is why it's not enabled in production. So, so it's moving along. Any questions on the archive so far? This is something, again, where if you are in both Discovery Committee and Digital Archive Committee, you'll see some of this twice and get to see progress twice as fast because it will be updating rapidly every couple of weeks. So. Any questions on what we've shown today for new functionality?
Mark, will you just let us know when the Colorado documents become available?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so as soon as we get information on how to load all of them, hopefully it won't take very long to get those inserted into the catalog. And we'll let you know. So. Any other questions? Okay, so this will all deploy again Thursday night is the plan, unless we find some major showstopper that would prevent us from deploying Thursday night, but Thursday night seems like a safe goal at this point. We will complete our planning then by the end of the week for next sprint. Largely what I think it is now. There's going to be some more archive work, of course. We're looking at doing some more mobile enhancements. So some more of the hiding book covers in various views because we've done a good job of minimizing them. So at least the entire screen is not one big cover. But there are people that are either on low bandwidth or that just don't like covers. And we want to be able to say, probably within the account, completely disable those. And that may be something where in mobile it pops up and says, hey, do you want to see covers? Yes or no, and then it'll remember your choice. But something to just completely get rid of those if people want it. Looking a little bit more at the search results. So how do we get those to look better in mobile? How do we get the grouped work to look better in mobile? We will be looking, scroll here through. More work for Arlington, getting them live. So just making sure all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Getting that all set up. Some more bug fixes and little enhancements and that kind of thing. Lots of little stuff to make things better. Are there any big things that people would like us to work on this sprint? In addition to some of those things that I've talked about, we'll also be looking at anything that winds up not getting fixed this time. But are there big things that people are needing sooner rather than later that need to be considered in planning? All right. And there's, if your favorite bug or enhancement wasn't fixed, there will be a few more fixes this week before Thursday. We just wanted to get the major functionality demoed. There'll be a little cleanup that still happens this week. So.
Hey, Mark, have you had any reports of freezing holds having issues?
Beyond the normal issues that freezing holds have?
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, we had some people here report, or I've seen it, where they can freeze them, but they can't unfreeze them. And if not, I'll email pica@marmot.org.
Recently or several weeks ago?
Yeah, within the last week.
Let me know, because
Okay.
the only thing I saw on a Sierra list was there's something about if you have a hold frozen for more than like 240 days, it
Wow.
like the Sierra behavior is it becomes stuck forever, and you have to delete that hold. But if it's like I froze it today and I can't unfreeze it tomorrow, let me know because that shouldn't be the case.
Okay. All right. I'll put that in.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns, things we need to address? Actually, there's one other thing that I have not talked about ever that may get some more attention next time as well. We are starting to see, we've added a little bit of BibFrame and schema.org information into the grouped work display. And we will be enhancing that as we go along. So here is that, so we can fetch from, let me find something. This is actually in production now, I just didn't talk about it last time. So actually let's do anything. So we'll be looking at how best to enhance this. So let's just grab a popular book and we'll get more information about that. So we're going to paste this into the linked data testing tool that Google provides. And we'll see we've got this page then is defined as a BibFrame work with a title and a creator, and it's also got a creative work, which is a schema.org name and author. Some of the obvious things to add to this are the library as a provider of it, some additional information in terms of publication date and that kind of thing. And then we can start to define some of the relationships between works and their individual manifestations. So to say that the book is related to the grouped work and that the book is a different entry or is a different manifestation of the large print and that kind of thing. So start doing some things to pull Google towards us in a way that makes sense for them. Need to figure out how to do some of the library pages, because when we're doing linked data, it would make sense to have additional data about the library. So if anybody's really interested in linked data, let me know, and we can start. We'll be adding to this, but we can get people's feedback as well as in terms of what kind of things they'd like to see and in what order as we flesh out our BibFrame and schema.org implementations and add them to different pages. Any other questions, comments, concerns, or we can give people back half an hour on their day?
Not seeing anything. So, well, yeah, I think people are ready to wrap up.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, well, thanks, Mark. And yeah, just to reiterate, if anyone, just remember to look at things before Thursday, and then the plan is to deploy Thursday night, and we can all check on Friday again. And we will see everybody. Our next meeting is February 2nd. So we'll send out reminders then.
All right.
Otherwise, have a good rest of your week and month.
Yeah. Happy New Year, everyone, and we'll talk to you in a month.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, bye all.